Most people believe that love is a pure force, untouched by strategy, untouched by control, untouched by hidden motives. Welcome to Emotional Shadow, but what if that belief is the greatest illusion relationships have ever sold us? What if emotional influence doesn't come with loud demands or visible manipulation, but instead slips quietly into the way someone phrases their affection, the way they withdraw their warmth, or the way they use closeness to shape your decisions without ever admitting it? There is a hidden truth we rarely confront. Romantic relationships are not just built on love, they are built on influence. And that influence is often disguised so elegantly that even the most emotionally intelligent people fail to notice it until the bond becomes difficult to escape. And the most surprising part is that emotional influence isn't always malicious. Sometimes it's unconscious. Sometimes it's inherited. Sometimes it's learned. But its impact is the same. It shapes how partners behave, how they attach, and how deeply they surrender their autonomy in the name of connection. To understand how emotional influence quietly embeds itself into romantic bonds, we need to look backward, back to early psychological theories on attachment, power, and emotional dependence. In the 1950s, psychoanalyst John Bowlby introduced the idea that humans are biologically wired to seek closeness, safety, and emotional consistency. But what wasn't emphasized enough was the shadow side of this instinct. When the fear of losing love becomes stronger than the desire to speak truth, a relationship becomes fertile ground for subtle forms of influence. Later, psychologists studying interpersonal dynamics noticed something strange: partners often influenced one another using behaviors that looked loving on the surface but were actually about preserving control or avoiding abandonment. This early research teased a twist few were ready to confront. Sometimes the most romantic gestures carry hidden emotional agendas. The "I need you," "you complete me," and "I can live without you" statements we glorify in movies quietly blur the line between affection and emotional leverage. And slowly, emotional influence becomes woven into the very fabric of intimacy, shaping expectations, obligations, and behaviors long before either partner realizes what is happening. The origins of emotional influence in romance usually begin harmlessly, almost invisibly. It starts when one partner realizes they can change the other's behavior by adjusting their emotional tone. Maybe a sudden silence makes the partner apologize quicker. Maybe withdrawing affection gets better compliance. Maybe dramatic sadness encourages the other to step into a caretaker role. These subtle reinforcements create a loop cause and effect that forms the earliest version of emotional influence. The more one partner sees that certain emotional responses get results, the more those responses become part of the relationship script. It isn't manipulation yet. It's survival, comfort, habit. But over time, these small strategies accumulate, and the influence grows stronger. Suddenly, decisions that were once personal become shaped by emotional cues. Preferences slowly shift. Boundaries quietly soften, and before long, one partner's emotions begin to govern the emotional climate of the relationship. As emotional influence rises, its impact becomes deeper and more complex. Partners begin to sense that certain truths are safer left unspoken. They learn which topics trigger guilt, which boundaries trigger distance, and which disagreements trigger emotional shutdown. Conflict no longer feels like two individuals working toward understanding. It begins to feel like navigating a maze where one wrong move can lead to emotional punishment. In T-Stays, love is still present, but it becomes intertwined with fear, hyper-awareness, and emotional prediction. Instead of expressing needs directly, partners anticipate reactions. Instead of feeling free, they feel subtly guided, pushed toward choices that maintain peace or satisfy expectations. The relationship may still look calm from the outside, but inside, emotional influence operates like a silent current, pulling decisions, shaping behaviors, and setting unspoken rules. The breaking point usually arrives when one partner finally recognizes the imbalance. Emotional exhaustion builds. The burden of pleasing, complying, or decoding emotions becomes too heavy. One day a small argument, a misunderstood message, or an unmet expectation cracks the surface and exposes the deeper issue. The relationship has become emotionally imbalanced. One partner feels controlled, while the other feels insecure or misunderstood. This is the moment where conflict escalates, communication collapses, and emotional distance grows. Because emotional influence rarely stays hidden once the affected partner becomes aware of it, it becomes impossible to end. The fallout can manifest in silent resentment, explosive confrontations, or slow emotional withdrawal. And even when couples try to repair the damage, they often fail not because they don't love each other, but because they are trying to fix the symptoms without naming the root cause, the disguised emotional influence operating beneath the relationship's surface. When consequences finally emerge, they strike at the heart of emotional intimacy. The partner who felt controlled begins to reclaim their autonomy, leading to confusion or panic, and the partner who relied on emotional influence. Trust becomes shaky. Vulnerability feels dangerous. Emotional closeness no longer feels warm, it feels conditional. Many couples attempt to fix this imbalance through promises, apologies, or temporary behavior changes. But these attempts often collapse because they don't address the underlying dynamic. The relationship wasn't operating on mutual respect. It was operating on unspoken emotional leverage. This is why cycles repeat: distance followed by closeness.com, followed by emotional storms, reassurance followed by fear. The influence becomes a pattern embedded in the emotional identity of the relationship. In modern relationships, this dynamic is more common than ever, and the data reflects it clearly. Surveys on relationship satisfaction show a rising pattern. Partners feel loved, yet simultaneously feel emotionally overwhelmed or subtly controlled. Communication studies showed that emotional withdrawal and guilt-based influence are now among the top predictors of long-term dissatisfaction, and psychologists have identified silent patterns that repeat across different couples. Manipulation disguised as neediness, guilt disguised as vulnerability, and pressure disguised as affection. These patterns grow stronger in a world where emotional validation has become currency, where attention feels scarce, and where love is often confused with possession. The disguise is perfect because it appears romantic, caring, or emotionally expressive, but beneath it, the influence is shaping behaviors, thoughts, and decisions in ways most people don't recognize until the damage has already begun. There are 3 powerful takeaways that every viewer needs to carry with them. First, emotional influence is not inherently toxic, but it becomes dangerous when it replaces honest communication. Recognizing your own emotional strategies and your partner's is the first step to creating a balanced, respectful bond. Second, love cannot thrive where emotional truth is replaced by emotional pressure. Healthy relationships require space for disagreement, autonomy, and authenticity, not emotional compliance. Third, the strongest relationships are those where influence is mutual, conscious, and guided by respect rather than fear. When both partners understand how their emotions affect the other, they can create a connection built on clarity instead of confusion. But even with this knowledge, one final truth remains. Trust and love are fragile. They can be strengthened by awareness, or quietly weakened by emotional influence that goes unexamined. The real challenge is not avoiding emotional influence. It is recognizing it, understanding it, and using it responsibly. If you want more insights into the hidden emotional forces shaping modern relationships, make sure to subscribe, stay connected, and explore the content on this channel where we uncover the truths most people never talk about but everyone deeply feels.